She's like a sickness in my brain, a vision standing by the window pane. She ripples through the blinds and leaves me in a daze. It's in the way her body moves me, the way she grabs me and intoxicates, until the signals in my mind forget to operate. Pressure in your fragile skull. I take my pleasure from my alcohol. She'll never give you any time at all. She just comes and goes, you know.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me for another video, another coffee and crime time. And today I have a very sad story for you. It's very sad, but it's also very important. And it does focus on and talk about some implications that you don't hear spoken about that often. On the afternoon of March 2nd, police responded to the Flagstaff, Arizona apartment of 26-year-old Elizabeth Archibek and 23-year-old Anthony Martinez. There, they found the couple's 6-year-old son, Deshaun Martinez, unresponsive on the living room floor. When police arrived, his parents were emotional, crying, and having trouble speaking. One police officer noticed that Deshaun appeared to have been dead for hours. Medical personnel was called in, but they were unable to resuscitate him, and little Deshaun was pronounced dead at the scene. Deshaun's autopsy revealed some shocking details. His hair was brittle, his eyes were sunken in and had large dark circles under them. He had almost no body fat, and his body was covered in bruises and abrasions. Worst of all, at the age of 6, Deshaun weighed just 18 pounds, the same weight he had been at the age of 1. His death was ruled a homicide as a result of starvation. Initially, when his parents were questioned, they claimed that he was malnourished due to a previous medical condition. His medical history did show that Deshaun had in fact experienced trouble gaining weight at the age of 2 weeks, after he was hospitalized for a UTI and sepsis infection, which caused him to vomit every time he ate. They also said his low weight could have been a result of taking caffeine pills. Anthony Martinez told police that he'd seen a diet pill fall out of Deshaun's pocket earlier that week, so he'd found the rest of the diet pills in the house and threw them out. Elizabeth Archibek told police that she had last heard her 2 sons talking to each other on a bedroom floor where they slept around 8 a.m. She claimed hours later they were underneath some blankets on the floor, and when she tried to wake them up, Deshaun was not responsive. Deshaun's parents eventually confessed to locking him and his 7-year-old brother in a closet for 16 hours a day for a month, all while giving them very little food. Allegedly, they would lock the boys in the closet from 8 at night until 12 the next afternoon. When they were finally released from the closet at noon, they'd be given oatmeal, and then 4 hours later, they'd be given a cheese sandwich, and then 4 hours after that, they'd be put back in the closet, and they would have no more food for the rest of the night. What did these children do? What was their big crime that justified locking them in a closet for the majority of the day and night and starving them? Well, it seems that as the parents slept, Deshaun and his brother had stolen food from the family kitchen. According to Anthony Martinez, Deshaun's father, they were on a budget and they were waiting for more food stamps so they could purchase more food. Deshaun's surviving siblings were taken into custody of CPS. Their ages are 2, 4, and 7. Deshaun's brother also showed signs of being malnourished, but his 2 younger sisters were not malnourished. And this is very similar to the Thomas Valva case we discussed some months ago, where the NYPD officer and his wife locked his son Thomas and his other son in a freezing garage all night. And when Thomas was clearly suffering from hypothermia and could barely stand up, they were captured on tape making fun of him. Eventually, Thomas did die. But the other children in the house, girls, were perfectly fine and had not been mistreated. According to the American Journal of Public Health, men were more likely than women to have experienced physical abuse during childhood. Men were significantly more likely than women to have experienced 7 of the 12 violent behaviors perpetrated by a parent, step-parent, or guardian. Specifically, boys in poor urban areas around the world are suffering more than girls from violence, abuse, and neglect. For the life of me, though, I could not find an article that could tell me why. Why is this the case? They told me how to recognize it, certain societal and personality factors that contributed to it, but not the why. So we're left to our own devices to ponder and to come to a conclusion of why boys may be more at risk for being abused, neglected, and killed by their own parents or caregivers. To me, the reason is probably very simple. Boys are seen as tougher than girls. They always have been. Girls need to be handled with care and sensitivity. Boys need to be toughened up so they'll be strong men when they go into the world. In reality, we should be treating our sons and daughters in exactly the same way, with love, with understanding, compassion. We should be encouraging sensitivity in boys so they grow up to be good husbands and fathers and highly functioning and contributing members of society. The amount of abuse happening to young boys all around the world only does one thing. It keeps the vicious cycle of abuse alive and well. Many men who were abused or debased as children go on to do the same to their wives and their children, and so it continues. The worst part is, many child deaths aren't even looked at too closely. The parents say they fell down the stairs or they just passed away in their sleep. Not wanting to cause more trauma to the parents who have already lost a child, the autopsy is often not as thorough as it would be on an adult who died under similar suspicious circumstances. No one, and I mean no one, wants to admit or even think about the fact that the majority of children who are murdered at the hands of those who are supposed to be caring for them. Yet, that is the reality. Deshaun's grandmother, 50-year-old Ann Martinez, along with his parents, have been charged with first-degree murder, kidnapping, and child abuse. They've all pleaded not guilty. Ann, the grandmother, was actually the person who called the police, and allegedly what she said was, yes, I think my grandson passed away. When she was asked what happened, she claimed that sometimes he gets into stuff he's not supposed to, but she didn't really know exactly. Ann told the dispatcher that Deshaun's skin was no longer warm to the touch, that he had stuff coming out of his mouth, but that his tan skin had not changed color. Later, she told police she was aware of what was happening to her grandsons in that apartment, and she decided to continue help punish them anyway. When she was being booked into the county jail, she stated she didn't understand why she was being arrested because she hadn't done anything wrong and she's not a violent person. She said, quote, "I'm a law-abiding citizen just trying to help grandkids not be in the streets. So put them in the closet instead so they're not on the streets. I mean, that's better." When Anthony Martinez was brought to the jail, he was handcuffed behind his back, he was restrained at the ankles, and he was sitting in a wheelchair because authorities claimed he'd resisted arrest. He yelled profanities at the police officers and finally asked if he could just be sent to prison. When police talked to Deshaun's 7-year-old brother, he told them that whatever food they got, they would try to ration and make it last. DCS did have one prior report of abuse from 2013 for a sibling of Deshaun's, but department spokesperson Darren Duranko alleged that the claims were unsubstantiated and that the parents completed in-home services, resulting in the case being closed months later. It's not hard to see why I would have a problem with the statement, considering that Deshaun Martinez, who was a child to this couple, is now dead, and they had some child abuse allegations in 2018, but apparently that was unsubstantiated, and then the case was closed. But it doesn't seem to be unsubstantiated when one of their children ends up dead from neglect and child abuse. At this time, prosecutors are contemplating whether or not these 3 individuals will be facing the sentence of the death penalty, and due to the current pandemic, they have until mid-summer to make that decision. This is another terrible case in a string of terrible cases that we've talked about, but that's not all it is. It's the story of a small child who wasn't allowed to be a small child, and the story of his brother who went through this torture with him, but luckily survived it. That's the only thing that brings me the smallest amount of comfort, that Deshaun wasn't alone the whole time, trapped in a closet, starving, crying out for someone to just wrap their arms around him and tell him that it was going to be okay. At least he had his brother with him when he died. The 7-year-old brother, however, is going to have a lot of work ahead of him. He now has to live with survivor's guilt. He has to remember those horrible days imprisoned away from family and friends with only one person for comfort, and that one person is now gone forever. Times have certainly been hard these past few months. I'm not going to deny that, and I know there's going to be comments, because there's always comments defending people who kill their children because of circumstances. Many families have found themselves unable to provide for their children, but you can find a way. You'll always find a way if you want to. I will never believe or accept that these parents locked their sons in a closet and starved them simply because there just wasn't enough food. They were clearly eating, the parents. The 2 younger girls were well fed. As a parent, when you don't have enough to go around, you are the one who should do without. You're the one who takes off your plate and makes the sacrifice to ensure your children don't go without. You can get a hamburger at a fast food place for 99 cents. Not that a fast food hamburger is adequate nutrition all the time, but it would have been something. It would have kept him alive. And you are trying to tell me that none of these 3 adults, the parents or the grandmother, in that apartment had $1 to spare? Or a way to get $1? Back in my broke college days, I was raising a child, and there would be times where I would literally spend the entire morning digging under couch cushions, reaching under the seats of my car, collecting change so that I could buy milk and Kraft macaroni and cheese. I'd offer to wash a neighbor's car for $5, or I'd bring whatever I could find in my house, to a pawn shop for a few dollars here and there. I did what I had to in order to make sure that my child was not going to bed hungry at night. COVID is certainly a good reason to find yourself in dire financial straits. Nobody could deny that. But it is not an excuse to allow your son to starve to death, because there's always another way. There's always something else that you can do. So that's how I stand on it. Let me know what you guys feel. This wasn't a long one because there just wasn't a lot of information. And as far as I know, they haven't even gone to court yet, but they are facing these charges, and the prosecutors still have to decide whether they're going to bring the death penalty. I doubt they will, to be completely honest, but I think that that's what they should get. I know we're in the middle of this Jeffrey Epstein series, and I haven't released the last 2 yet, but I completely lost my voice yesterday. It was terrible. I could not speak. I was told to just rest my voice for the day. That was the day I was supposed to record it because it's a longer one. So I'm going to have to wait until Friday to record it, because that's the only time I get a few hours without the kids kind of running around the house and being loud. So I'm going to record that on Friday, and it'll probably be up on Monday or shortly after. Maybe I'll try to record both of them that day. That way we're not waiting forever between episodes. But those will be out soon, just so you guys know. Share this video if you think it's worth sharing. Like, comment, subscribe. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section. Have an amazing day. Stay kind, stay beautiful, and stay safe. And I will see you very, very soon. Bye.
Well, the levee don't break now, and the bottle's going straight down, and that river runs deep. The mountains get steep and the voices getting too loud. All these feelings I've buried, it's looking like a cemetery. They're coming back from the grave, calling out my name. Better say I Hail Mary. Well, you don't know how deep it goes until it's getting you slowly. So you got to let it go. I got blood